In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about King BeneDick. Family coming out of everywhere and mutual corruption. In our discussion of Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maehrer. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover. Shit. A podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other. Books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. Today we're going to discuss Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maehrer.
We shouldn't be allowed to, speak or look at each other before we record.
No, why do we just not do camera on? We're only allowed to do it the second we press record.
It's fine. Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book or ever experienced Fictional Hangover, I'm sorry. Please remember...
Go back and listen to all of our other episodes, then come back and enjoy this one.
Please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
But again, if you haven't listened to the other ones, go back and listen to them and come back.
At least go back and listen to what's
250 episodes?
Yeah.
Main episodes.
Yeah.
We'll throw the interviews and the bonuses as well.
Yeah. But seriously, of all of them, if you're listening to this episode and it's your first one ever, go back and listen to Assistant to the Villain at least.
At least.
Because it
makes much more sense.
It goes before this one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You can't see it properly.
You're a little glare. Mine's over here.
There we go.
Oh, can you see it? Or is it...
No, to be fair though, I've got you a little bit off. No. If it is there.
It's right on the edge.
Yeah, I think it's too far on the edge. Living on the edge.
It should be there now. But it's fine. We'll just leave it like that. It's fine. You can see an arc up there called Air of Storms that we suggested in one of our last episodes.
Do you know the important thing is?
That we're here?
Apprentice.
Apprentice is here?
Apprentice is here.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Let's just get some background.
I think that we should. I don't know.
Because I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on right now. It's fine.
We both need naps. That's what it is.
We do. Okay. I would suggest that you go back and listen to Assistant to the Villain. Oh, wait, I already did that. And also the interview that we did with Hannah Nicole Maehrer when we talked about that book. That was lots of fun. But I actually do have just a tiny bit of background info that I found in an interview with United by Pop, in which she talks about writing the sequel, which is this hand Apprentice to the Villain, and that it was not any different than writing Assistant to the Villain, because we all know that this series was inspired by her being ridiculous on TikTok.
Yes.
And then she wrote it down. So she says she found new ways to play with her characters, and she added in more Easter eggs from her skits. So, if you're watching her skits on TikTok or on social media, you'll learn secrets about the book, which we talked about when we interviewed her. So it's really, really fun. And she says that her characters are doing things that surprise her. And she's not, she's the writer and she gets surprised by it. But she also says when she sat down to write Apprentice, she had a running joke with herself that her characters had gone rogue. And I think everyone can agree with that if you've read the book.
I feel like we've gone rogue.
Yeah, I agree. But it's fine. What are your initial thoughts? Mine are yay.
I agree. I've been looking forward to discussing this one because I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah.
And it fits so wonderfully with this month's Stop Procrastinating book club theme.
Yes. Yes. It's almost like we made that theme on purpose.
To be fair, though, it happened because of a chat that was taking place in our Discord. Yes, we have a Discord. Come join us.
Yeah, seriously.
And somebody, I can't remember who, I'm going to blame Katrina.
Probably Katrina. She's very active.
She is.
We love Katrina. Yay,
we
Katrina.
love Katrina.
Yay.
Super fan Katrina. Woo!
Yay, woo!
So let's just blame her. And she
Sure.
said something. And then we talked about procrastination. And then we were like, oh, that would be a good book club theme. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
So basically, have a conversation with us and we're likely to turn it into a book club theme.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
We like to rob people of their ideas
We
of book club themes.
do like
'cause it
burgling.
helps.
Yes. I feel like we should just jump right into this summary because
2
it's
feet. Go for it.
probably going to be a little bit long. Here we go. The villain, Tristan Maverine, but don't let that get around, is realizing that making hiring decisions whilst bleeding out in the Hickory Forest because you've been shot by the King's magical guard after going in search of your once human prince, now frog, and a tiny crown friend Kingsley, who likes to take walks, may be, hasty.
Don't be hasty.
Especially when said hasty hire with a sunshine disposition, Evie Sage, lives rent-free in your head. Evie swishes around the villain's castle in her flowery skirt, humming and smiling and making everyone feel better about themselves, and wishes on stars and sees the best in people, including the villain. Ugh. Ugh. Well, I mean, she's a good assistant, and productivity is up, and he can't take any more of her smiles as it's doing something to him. So he tells Evie to head home early. Tristan calls his guard and makes sure Evie is followed home because the Hickory Forest is dangerous, and what good is having an assistant if they're dead?
Evie Sage is dead.
Son of a bitch!
Womp womp.
All right, end.
The end. Well, at least though, that's what the knight professes to the King BeneDick, who is very happy at this announcement because, spoiler alert, King BeneDick is an asshole.
BeneDick.
Oh, he's a BeneDick.
Mm-hmm.
King BeneDick has plans to use Evie Sage's body to unmask the villain at the end of the week. And listeners, you can't see Amanda's face, but it says, damn, we found our bit.
Already.
At the end of the week, it's King BeneDick. It's going to usher in a new era for Renadawn in the image of a fairy tale, Renadawn's story. He'll also need Nura Sage's letters to her eldest Evie, and sends the knight to retrieve them. The younger Sage daughter has already been captured by the villain's terrible horde, so, no worries there. As the other ingredient necessary to King BeneDick's plan, the venom of one of the Givers, the king has someone who can help with that. The villain, who was captured at the end of book 1 by King BeneDick.
I'm so glad you got to say it like 12 times in that
At
paragraph.
least. I'm now going to do a Control F for every time the word king is mentioned and change it.
And just make sure it's there. The villain is imprisoned in darkness. And we all know how much he hates that. If you read book 1 anyway.
If you haven't, go and listen to something.
Yeah, do it right now. But it's color that he misses. As he's thinking about the events leading up to his capture, King BeneDick. BeneDick! It's going to get worse every time, comes to taunt him. However, civil discourse really isn't in the cards. Tristan is angry at King BeneDick for multiple reasons, including, but not limited to, sending thugs after Evie Sage, capturing Tristan's father, and his own imprisonment. Who is the real villain here? Seriously, everyone knows it's King BeneDick. And now Tristan adds wanting the Givras to the very long list of horrible things that King BeneDick has done. Well, Tristan isn't going to help him, as King BeneDick leaves the cell with Tristan's promises to ruin him ringing in his ears. King BeneDick throws... I can't do it that intensely the whole time. It's just getting worse and worse and worse.
No, it's getting really bad.
King BeneDick throws back a little tidbit. Evie Sage is dead. Wah, wah. Wait, hold on. I feel like, do you remember those commercials in the 90s? The what's that? That's what's happening right now.
It is. I feel like I should be taking drugs.
Same. This is just normal.
Ooh. Oh, okay. 7 days later, Tristan has moved cells. He spent the last week telling himself Evie is not dead, relying on the gold ink bargain tattoo to know she's alive. Tristan notices a doorway at the end of the hall from his cell and thinks it's a stairwell and his way to freedom. As one of the guards at night with green eyes, the same night from earlier with the King BeneDick, opens his cell to take Tristan to the ballroom for his unmasking. The villain uses the opportunity to rush the man and go through the door. The knight shouts for him not to go that way because inside is not the way out, but a small room and Evie Sage lying in state in a glass coffin. Ooh. This breaks Tristan. He commands, then begs Evie to wake up, but she does not, adding salt to the wounds. BeneDick is there watching him. As Tristan is taken back to his cell, the green-eyed knight mouths hope.
Meanwhile, in the ballroom, the villain's HR rep, Becky, and his dragon trainer, Blade, are in disguise. Becky is very put out that King BeneDick cannot keep to schedule. Blade, on the other hand, is wary that his father, an advisor to King BeneDick, is also at the villain's unmasking, and he does not want to be spotted. The flirting between them as they wait is obvious and nerdy, and we all love it. Finally, King BeneDick makes his entrance with the masked villain in tow. He gives a little speech and unveils the villain's last victim, daughter of a beloved knight. The fact that he is an asshole, a narcissist, selfish, and a bad parent is unsaid. See Book 1. It's Evangelina Sage. Becky sees Evie in her glass coffin and thinks that something is wrong. She also sees the smirk on King BeneDick's stupid face. Stupid dick. Stupid son of a bitch.
As the son of a bitch, King BeneDick is making another speech. Arthur, Tristan's father, tries to talk to his son. Tristan has lost all hope, but wishes the gentry would stop wasting desserts on him as projectiles. Capital offence. Catching his attention, Benedict accuses Tristan of being the creator of the mystic illness that has been a plague on Renadorn for the last 10 years. But Tristan calls Benedict the real villain. As they're spitting venom at each other, the crowd starts screaming. Evie Sage's coffin is empty, and she is standing across the hall demanding to know where her invitation was.
Evie's entrance is a little more dramatic than she wanted, but now that she has the king's attention, she uses it to her advantage and moves closer to him. King BeneDick makes a show of belittling Evie, but Evie is having none of it and demands the return of the villain and Arthur Maehrer and insists that they be allowed to leave and that everyone in attendance will be allowed to leave as well. As the king laughs, Evie points out that he clearly doesn't know all his valiant guard because he can't see the malevolent guard in their midst. At a signal, Tatiana steps out, pulls a flare, and at its spark, the malevolent guard disabuse themselves of their costumes. All of them are women. All went unnoticed and underestimated. Before chaos descends, Evie says to King BeneDick, "I hope you remember that whatever happens next, I did so try to warn you."
Tristan's sister makes her way to him and their father and pulls out orange ink to dissolve their bonds as Tatiana arrives. On the floor, the malevolent guard are kicking the valiant guard's butts. Once free, Tristan's magic comes flooding back. Across the room, Tristan spots Evie and she waves her tattooed pinky at him, but he notices that Evie is holding a rope tied to the chandelier. She's totally going to drop the chandelier. There's a murder chandelier, which we completely appreciate.
It's a murder chandelier!
The villain stomps across the now glass-covered room to his assistant. He can't take his eyes off her while shouting at her about her foolish actions that should have stayed in the books she's so fond of reading. There's a comment about bending like a pretzel here that does make the villain miss a beat, so what book's she reading? Anne insists that if she is unmasked, he should be too, and she should be the one to do it. Of course, King BeneDick, looking worse for wear, interrupts the moment, taunting them with his hostage, Kingsley.
No, Kingsley.
Save Kingsley.
Stop it.
Save the frog.
The villain sends out his magic to the king, and it swirls around him like a grey mist and freezes the monarch. Evie cries out because, shockingly, she can see Tristan's magic. This is first. Adding to the new skills on display, Kingsley bites down on the hand holding him, and King BeneDick throws the frog to the floor where Tristan is able to scoop him up. As they leave, to BeneDick's threats, Tristan spots letters from Nura Sage tucked in Evie's skirt and is again astounded by this woman. They escape to the beautiful sounds of a frustrated king.
Evie and the villain are running through the forest, evading the guards towards the ravine, which is in the opposite direction of Massacre Manor. Evie tells Tristan to trust her, and he does. Demonstrated when the guards are chasing them and they're running hell for leather in the ravine, without question he takes her hand and jumps over the edge. Oh, where they land safely on Fluffy, the giant dragon's back.
At this, I was just picturing Back to the Future. Jumping off the roof onto the DeLorean as it rises up. Please tell me that this is what you experienced as well.
So the trust jump. This is when Evie knows that she is in love with Tristan Maehrer. Already on Fluffy's back are Blade, Tatiana, Claire, Arthur, and Becky. There is no rest for the wicked, however, because King BeneDick wants the Givers, and they could be on the cause of all the mystic illness because it may be a natural consequence of keeping them contained. Since they've been confined together, it's a good thing the female isn't pregnant. Oh, yeah, about that. Oopsie.
Oopsie. The next day, the villain and Blade are watching the Givras. Tristan explains that King BeneDick really does want to fulfill the prophecy in the fairy tale Renadon's story, so they must make sure the Givras are safe. After some gentle niggling at the boss over his obvious feelings for Evie, Tatiana arrives with a letter from Arthur, who left early that morning, confirming his sister is staying on at the manor, but she'd be happy to kick out her ex at his say-so. The malevolent guard have returned from their exploits the day before, and there is a mob assembling, but it's okay because Evie's dealing with it. Damn it.
Evie is threatening the mob with a scatterday, but when the villain arrives, his employees run off. No more threats needed. In his office, Lissa, Evie's little sister, is sitting in his chair, bored. Once she's passed to Edwin, the ogre cook, to learn how to make lemon tarts, Tristan and Evie talk about the papers reclaimed from the king. One is a page from BeneDick's storybook with the prophecy. They decide the only way to stop King BeneDick is to fulfill the prophecy themselves. The rest of the papers are Evie's mother's letters. However, they're in pieces and mostly illegible, so they make little sense. However, one has a rhyme, which in Evie's mind is dirty because it mentions kissing in caves, but it is in fact, according to Tristan, directions to Stardust. It's a start, but they really need to find Evie's mother and her starlight magic to truly fulfill the prophecy. They make plans to follow the directions first thing in the morning. Her emotions are a whirl. Evie goes to write in her journal, but it is gone.
The next day, before she goes to meet the villain, Evie begs Becky to help her look for her journal. It has a body picture she's drawn of her and the boss kissing.
Oh.
And she'd rather it not get passed around. Becky agrees to look, but she does not agree to the hug Evie tries to give her for her help. Meanwhile, the villain is waiting and has found the new decorative addition to the fouille. Otto Warson's head. Please see book 1. The villain questions Evie about it, but he's not mad. He's impressed by all the things Evie accomplished while he was imprisoned. What he is mad about is that he thinks he's corrupting her.
Oh, she's definitely corrupting him.
Oh. I think they're corrupting
I think
each
they
other.
need to have some mutual
corruption
in the bedroom.
Something else to latch on to.
Damn it. Joining Tristan and Evie on their search of the caves is Tatiana, and for some reason Claire, and of course Blade since he's riding Fluffy. It takes a couple of hours for them to reach the entrance, which is guarded by a sentry, who the villain explains are vessels made by the gods to keep the people out of sacred sites, and require careful trickery and mastery of the mind to get past. Evie says please, and the sentry lets her pass. As Evie is encouraging the villain to follow, she suddenly lets out a scream and falls. The villain dashes forward. Meanwhile, back at the manor, Lissa is helping Becky alphabetize when one of the malevolent guards comes running into her office. The wards surrounding the manor and keeping it hidden have broken. Massacre Manor is visible.
Oh no. Oh no.
That's bad.
When she stopped screaming, Evie found she had landed on something as soft as a cloud, and the villain joins her a few moments later. As he's essentially telling her off for risking her life and throwing herself into situations first and asking questions later, the tension between them builds, and Evie and the villain are millimeters away from mutual corruption. When a giant creature interrupts them, the creature, literally a giant, is left over from when the gods painted the world, and it was his idea to make trees, which Evie really appreciates. The giant knows who Evie and Tristan are, and though he can't intervene directly, he does gift the daughter of wishing stars a vial of stardust and invites her back to see the stars at night, which form the roof of his cave, though there is a tiny part missing. When Evie and Tristan emerge from the cave, Tatiana and Claire are waiting, but Evie spots something in the trees. A valiant guard with a knife to Blade's throat.
Dang.
Damn it.
More valiant guards emerge, and though Evie starts to charm one, the villain's magic isn't responding correctly, and he is subdued. Evie takes her dagger out and tries to fight, but strangely the dagger starts attacking and killing by itself. Kingsley, because of course he stored himself away, and Claire wade into the fight, and soon there are only 2 guards left. The captain calls for the villain's death, but the guard holding him declines and releases the villain, who runs a sword through the captain. The remaining guard, who has very familiar green eyes, lifts his helmet, revealing himself to be Evie's informant and her older brother, Gideon Sage. He'd come back into Evie's life 2 weeks ago after she believed him dead for 10 years. He had amnesia, but he got better.
When they get back to Massacre Manor, Becky and Lissa report that they still haven't found Evie's journal. The villain has, though.
Oh.
It was on his desk.
Oh, he's been corrupted.
He has. Because he's reading it. And he's on the exact kissing page that Evie didn't want him to see. The villain can make out Evie, but not who she's kissing. Oh, yeah, I'm sure about that. Gideon wanders in and gives some random name, pretending that it's a boy from their village. I mean, he's a pretty good older brother, I think. But he's soon dragged back to his cell by Keeley, the captain of the Malevolent Guard, and an asshat Malevolent Guard who mutters insults about Evie under his breath. Once alone, Evie and the villain settle in to figure out what to do with the vial of stardust.
After an intense brainstorming session, it was a brainstorming session, no corruption, Evie goes for a nap. Oh, a nap.
Yes.
And is woken by Lissa several hours later. Lissa asks Evie if their father was really sick and died, and Evie gives her sister an honest answer for an honest question. No, he pretended to be sick, and no, he isn't dead. Turns out Lissa suspected all along, as she would see him apply white makeup to look sick and leave the house during the day. Evie explains that not all families are ones you are born into, some are the ones you find and create. Still tired, she goes back to sleep, but wakes with a start. Stardust is gone.
Anxiety spiraling and stomach growling, Evie goes off in search of food and the stardust vial. She finds the vial moving by itself down a corridor toward the villain, who manages to catch it. Because Tristan is so villainous, he fetches Evie a plate of food while she holds the constantly vibrating vial. It clearly wants to be used, so when the villain returns, they decide to put some on Nura Sage's letters that are currently in the villain's bedchamber.
Ooh. As the villain tries to ignore the fact that Evie's nightclothes are sheer, ordering her to eat the meal, he pours a little stardust on the letters and the entire room erupts in shakes and furniture crashes. The stardust has turned the letters into a glass map, and a 5-pointed star shows them where they are going, Heart Village. Blade, who is still up at this hour to look after the pregnant Giver, crashes into the villain's room to check he's okay after hearing the crash. Seeing the boss with Evie, Blade makes assumptions, then double entendres, and lastly impertinent comments, before leaving them alone. Evie does not stay the night, though. No corruption for Evie.
No mutual corruption. Before they depart on their journey to Heart Village with Kingsley, Tatiana, and Claire, Gideon meets Lissa, though technically he met her, when she was a baby. Lissa is direct with her questions and Gideon answers, feeling guilty for leaving Evie alone to deal with everything, and Lissa isn't happy about it either. Becky and Blade are left in charge, while the others go looking for clues to find Nura Sage.
They travel to Heart Village on horseback, and it's not a comfortable journey for Evie, who has had little time in the saddle, and not much core strength. The group banters as they travel, and Evie plucks a magical flower and smells it, causing her to totally miss the conversation that she'll be bait for the bridge creatures they must pass in order to enter the village. This isn't good because the flower in her hand is an intoxicant. Evie's drunk, and one of the bridge creatures is right there. Then 2 more bridge creatures join the first.
The creatures will give a riddle, and if Evie, and only Evie, who is as drunk as a pirate, can answer correctly, they will allow them all in. The female creature gives Evie the riddle, and though Tristan calls them out for setting Evie up to fail, his assistant tells him off for underestimating her and easily answers the riddle. The group is allowed to pass, but Tristan must leave his magic behind whilst in Heart Village. He looks at Evie, dancing and tripping and looking to the sky, and agrees. Once inside, Evie and Tristan split up from Tatiana, Claire, and Kingsley, and the villain buys, actually legitimately purchases, not, steals, sweet bread for Evie because she has a drunken need for bread, and I think we all are familiar with that need. As they're talking about her eating the sleeping death fruit to save him and their next steps, a troupe of performers grab Tristan, declaring they've caught the villain, as they hold up a wanted poster with an accurate drawing and his real name.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Evie and the villain are tied up and taken to a ship, where Evie says the villain can pay them double what the king is offering. The troop leader shows Evie her wanted poster too. That is so exciting! Ah! Eventually they disembark and are put inside a water cellar until morning. Meanwhile, back at the manor, Becky is babysitting Gideon, while Keely takes some of the guards to check the woods, and they learn that more of the security wards are failing. Speaking of, the interns are fighting and being cheated on by the other employees. Apparently, a solution to the ward situation has been found, and they're fighting for the right to present it. Becky picks up her letter opener and goes down to deal with them.
Evie asks the villain to put his hand up her skirt. Not for mutual corruption this time, but to retrieve her dagger strapped to her thigh, which causes Tristan to have mild palpitations. The dagger is the one that has been moving of its own accord, the same one Otto stabbed her with, causing the scars on her back. While it burns Tristan as he frees them, to Evie, it just feels warm. After they cut their bonds, they need to tackle the bars, and while Evie attacks it with her dagger, something happens, causing Evie to end up on the floor with Tristan on top of her. They're so close to finally kissing, but then they're interrupted by Helena, the kidnapper troop boss, and Evie's cousin.
What?
She confirms Nura Sage was in Heart Village a few years ago, but she was like a ghost and kept saying how she wanted to disappear into midnight. Despite their familiar relationship, cousin Helena will not free them. Bitch.
In a bid to escape, Evie orders Tristan to take off his shirt, and she takes off her dress. Oh my god, are we getting to mutual corruption?
Mutual corruption!
Mutual corruption! Mutual corruption! No, it's to make a rope, not for sexy, fun mutual corruption times.
Damn it.
Tying a shoe to one end and tossing their rope, Evie can't reach the keys on the table, and Tristan is too strong and misses twice, hitting a window, cracking it. Great. Brilliant. Which allows water to pour in. Meanwhile, back at the manor, Becky deals with the fighting interns. First with a strict command, and then, when that doesn't work, an ass-kicking. Blade is astounded and must know where she learned to fight like that. Gideon Sage, however, thinks Becky looks familiar, and her skills have just proven that. Erring isn't her real name. He'll keep that secret, though.
What?
Secret.
The water in the cell is rising. Tristan caught the keys, eventually, but they sank like a stone in the water. Sure they're about to die, Evie asks Tristan to kiss her.
Corruption. Corrupt her. Corrupt her.
He wants, really wants to, but isn't sure that she isn't still drunk from the flower, so he tells her he can't. Suddenly, another window breaks, and Kingsley hops down, and Tatiana follows, and then Claire's faces fill the window. Kingsley retrieves the keys. Tristan pushes the prison door open, then helps Evie through the broken window. Tristan, however, is escorted out by the kidnapper troop, Evie's dagger at his throat. Evie becomes very possessive over Tristan, and her scar glows bright, causing a distraction for the villain to break free. Cousin Helena says she wasn't going to sell them to the king because she hates the king and blames him for her failing business and the loss of magic. But they had bets on mutual corruption between Evie and Tristan while they were locked up. And she's just won 10 gold for clothes being removed. Cousin Helena gives Evie a pouch and a note her mother left her for the right time.
The pouch better be part of her winnings for the mutual corruption bet.
Yeah, really.
It's only fair. They head back to the manor in silence and all end up converging in the kitchen where Edwin has made pies and Lissa helping make cinnamon rolls. I made cinnamon rolls yesterday. As they're discussing next steps, the Stardust map having dissipated, Evie looks in the pouch Cousin Helena gave her. Inside is not part of the winnings from the mutual corruption.
Damn it.
It is a corner of a picture frame that says property of the Sage family. And Gideon recognises it, so they decide to head to the frame maker in Evie's village. Right, can I just stop here? Are you going to go to the frame maker, or are you going to go back to your childhood home where the picture that's come from is likely to be?
Why would you go to the frame maker?
I just don't get this bit. I'm just going to put it out there. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Right, okay. So, the villain, he stops Evie from coming along. He is saying that she is recognisable from her wanted poster. Evie pleads, but the villain tells her pleading is beneath her, which makes Evie thinks he's mocking her about asking to be kissed back in the cell. Evie then goes super professional with Mr. Ravine, and for 3 days she says nothing to him. But she also doesn't hum or eat candy or smile and is utterly boring and uber professional, and oh my god, everybody hates it. And you know whose fault it is? The villain.
The villain. It's the villain's fault.
The villain. It's all the villain's fault.
Later, as Tristan is wandering along the road in Evie's village, watching the festivities, he overhears Evie's ex making disparaging remarks about her and saying how good a man Otto was.
Boo.
Nah, dog. The villain reaches out with his magic and snaps at the ex's damaged knee. Hee hee hee. Tristan is then accosted by an old woman offering to paint his face, and as it would offer an additional disguise, and Tristan has a soft heart deep down on the inside, he agrees, and she does a magnificent job making him into a wolf. As she leaves with 30 gold pieces instead of the copper she charges, the old woman turns with a wink and rips his wanted poster off the wall. Finding the portrait frame maker, Tristan finds an attractive woman with a rabbit face paint disguise already talking to him. Of course, it's Evie. Because obviously.
Duh. Tristan pulls Evie away from the cart and she explains that the seller didn't know her mother, so they need to check her childhood home. Why didn't you go there in the first place?
I'm thinking... I am thinking that it is because that face paint woman must come back into play later.
At this point, you would expect that.
Something's got to happen with this, because why did we write that scene in?
I don't. It literally says property of the Sage family. Why are you going to go to some rando in a village?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
It's the most frustrating scene out of the entire book.
It doesn't
because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Rage.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to head to Evie's childhood home, where they should have gone in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're still mad at each other. Fair. As they head to the cottage, Tristan gives Evie's ex another pinch with his magic. And once they arrive at her childhood home, Tristan takes the opportunity to dash upstairs, shouting that he's going to check out her childhood bedroom as revenge for her looking at his at the manor. Evie chases him up and realises the mistake. They're in a room with a bed. Alone. with no chance of interruption.
Mutual
But
corruption.
a lot of chances for mutual corruption.
Mutual corruption. Obviously, one thing leads to another. They both antagonize each other. And they finally end up kissing.
Oh, thank God for that.
Seriously, oh my fucking God. Just after Tristan lifts Evie to sit on her desk, a voice shouts up, demanding to know who's there. It's Malcolm Maehrer, Tristan's brother.
Right, I'm just going to stop you right here. Right. It's his brother. You have 1,000% right to just go up to your brother, punch him, tell him to fuck off, you with your lady friend,
Yes.
and go back to your mutual corruption. And your brother goes, fair cop, I'm going to leave, I'll come back in an hour.
All right.
That's what would happen in any normal situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please continue.
Unfortunately, Malcolm's tavern was burned down by some retired Valiant guards, and he heard the Sage family cottage was empty. So, he's been using it as a good place to hunker down and regroup. Squatter. He's squatting is what's happening right now.
Yes.
Evie asks if he's seen the picture, which matches the corner piece, and he has, and he retrieves it. Two girls are playing in a bright and vivid garden. One is Nura Sage, but the other is unfamiliar. Evie knows the only person who may be able to tell them about the painting is her father. I argue that Gideon probably could have as well.
There's a good chance. Well, he's the first person I'd go to.
Yeah.
Evie, surrounded by her friends, goes into her father's cell. Griffin Sage is uncooperative, so Evie draws her dagger and holds it to his throat. But then he starts antagonising. Why does everybody decide to antagonise Evie while she's holding a dagger? So you know what she does? She stabs him through the thigh. Good for you, Evie. Good for you. Griffin tells her the other girl in the picture is Rhaena Fortis, of the legendary Fortis family, who are known as warriors of valour and whose fortress is said to be magically touched, where even the plants come alive.
More.
Feed me see more.
I wish.
Griffin also admits to nearly destroying Nura, though he didn't mean to. Yeah, whatever, jerk. But if Evie wants more information about what he and BeneDick did to Nura's magic, she should ask her brother.
Yeah, see, just go to Gideon first.
You should have just gone Gideon.
Yeah. Despite orders to go back to work, everyone seems to have congregated outside Griffin Sage's cell, concerned about Evie. Evie slams open the cell door, covered in blood with a murderous look on her face and her dagger in hand. She stalks toward Gideon, who, in self-preservation, runs for it. But he's soon caught, and Evie questions him. When he was young, Gideon nearly died from an illness, but when he recovered, his magic, the magic to suppress the magic of others, had been unlocked. Griffin told Gideon not to tell anyone about it, not even Nura, who was pregnant at the time with Lyssa. After Lyssa's birth, Nura's own power came in stronger, and by this time, the king had visited Gideon and asked for his help to keep his mother safe and suppress her power. He did this every night, until one night he fell asleep, and Nura woke up, and her power came in full force. His suppression nearly destroyed their mother.
Later, Evie interrupts Tristan exercising without his shirt on in his bedroom because Lyssa is missing. Tristan calls everyone to action to find the wayward child, who has to be somewhere in the manor. Not really worried about Lyssa, of course. Talk turns to the kiss, but they agree to revisit once they've found Nura. In the meantime, they need to check with the Fortis family, which Tristan says could be complicated. As Evie is sitting on his many-pillowed bed, a guard runs in. There's a fire in the courtyard, and they suspect the Valiant Guard is responsible. Oh no.
It wasn't the Valiant Guard.
No.
No, it was Lyssa. who got Fluffy to breathe fire.
Oh, yay!
Alyssa has been helping around the manor, like locking Tatiana and Claire in a closet to promote kissing fun times, some other mutual corruption, helping build Fluffy's confidence, misplacing Evie's journal on the villain's desk, and trying to force something between Becky and Blade, but she's not really sure about them. Anyway, back to business and finding a way to Fortress. Becky, who is amongst all the people now congregated in the slightly singed courtyard, reveals she can help because Rena Fortis is her mother.
I have to say, all these family members that everybody seems to be encountering, it's getting less gasp moment worthy.
Yeah, it really is.
Let's find out who everybody else is related to.
Okay.
Evie, the villain, Becky, Tatiana, Claire, and Blade fly on Fluffy to the fortress. Kingsley should be still back at the manor.
He's not.
On the way, Claire shows Tristan and Evie their new wanted posters. The villain's reward has increased to 3 times the previous amount, and the artist has made his head smaller. But Evie's is a beautiful, dramatic depiction, includes more charges, and they have promoted her to Apprentice to the villain! Yay!
Title mention!
So, of course, Evie is overjoyed. At last they land in a clearing and Becky pulls out a golden key. With Evie bolstering her confidence, Becky opens the way to Fortress, with its living lands and sentient plants greeting Becky as she walks toward the residence. At the door, Archibald the butler greets Lady Rebecca, welcoming her home and ushering everyone inside. The plants continue to reach out to Becky, waving and touching her, and Kingsley tries to nab a fly because, of course, he stored away again.
Of course he did.
From the hallway, they can hear the loud hoots of Becky's brothers, though it's only 2 of them. Roland, slightly older, and Randy, around Lissa's age. The others are still training in the trench. After some banter and Evie flirting with Roland, much to Tristan's annoyance, Roland realises Tristan is the villain, and the houseplants attack, tying him up and dragging him through a secret passage to the trench.
Tristan is on the verge of passing out, trying to stay awake, thinking of revenge. And Evie. Eventually, he reaches for his magic and uses it to cut himself free, only to find himself in a high-walled arena. Becky's other 2 brothers, Raphael and Reed, looking down at him. They tell the villain he should not have come with his death magic, and now he will be tested by the world's oldest magic in the Trench of Anguish. Oh.
Back in the residence, Evie is beside herself when Becky's parents and grandmother come in. Eventually, Rena Fortis admits that Nura Sage was with them for a time, but she wasn't herself, almost a ghost. So they sent her to another of their properties at the Lilac Sea, with access to the country's greatest healers. Rena will send word, and Nura will be with them in a couple of days. Rena tries to persuade Becky to stay longer, but Becky still hasn't forgiven her mother for trying to sell her power, then steal her power to give to, you guessed it, King BeneDick, who professed to have had a cure for the mystic illness her grandmother has, and wanted Becky's powers as payment. Reed interrupts then with word that the villain appears to be dying.
Another of Becky's brothers, Raphael, starts giving Evie shit at the trench. The villain is in the center, surrounded by a faceless creature of light. Evie ignores Raphael's opinions about the villain's chances of survival and throws herself into the arena. Tristan is being shown memory after memory of different traumatic events in his life and sees himself in the office and facing King BeneDick, who has a knife to Evie's throat. He promises BeneDick anything in exchange for Evie, and he accepts, pushing Evie at him. Evie presses herself to the villain and tells him to destroy the entire Fortis family. Tristan already knows this isn't Evie. She's a poor imitation and pushes her away. The real Evie arrives, and the creature of destiny appears and tells the villain he has lost. But Evie starts bargaining, using her dagger as collateral. They start bickering, and eventually the creature admits that Tristan has already passed his trial, but then whispers something into his ear and ejects them both from this not reality. They wake in the trench, Evie feeling terrible, but Tristan is ill and begs Evie to stay with him.
Evie sits at Tristan's bedside in the sick room for hours. Raina comes in and makes some remarks about her daughter, which Evie corrects her on, and clearly doesn't know Becky was listening from the hall. They talk and understand each other so much better now, and it's like their friendship clicks in place. When Blade enters, Evie steps out, giving the two flirts a moment, and runs into Becky's brothers, who are sparring. They invite her to join them, pointing out it would be beneficial if she learned how to defend herself. Evie agrees, and she works her way through the brothers with varying degrees of success. Just as she's in what looks like a precarious life-or-death position, Tristan finds them, his fever having broken. Not understanding the situation, Tristan instantly becomes protective, and he insists they address Evie by her proper title, Apprentice. The brothers poke fun at Tristan's protectiveness of Evie, saying he must fight hard for who he loves, but Tristan denies he is capable of love. Evie, however, whispers that she finds him easy to love, and everything basically stops. Evie tells everyone to leave, magically takes hold of her dagger, and insists the villain teach her to fight him like him, since she is his apprentice.
Of course, it's raining as Evie and Tristan spar, and of course, the mutual corruption tension between them builds, and of course, Evie breaks one of Tristan's holds with a kiss. Which is when, of course, they are interrupted by the valiant guard. Meanwhile, back at the manor, as Gideon, Lissa, Edwin, and Keeley are eating Lissa's latest batch of cookies, a malevolent guard runs in. The manor's wards are completely down, and the valiant guard is here.
Uh-oh. 6 valiant guards surround Evie and the villain, who lets death magic out, some coiling around Evie like a pet, the rest looking for the weakness in the guards. Tristan's magic hasn't been responding well since Evie started to be able to see it. Evie tries to shoo the misty coils away and calls her magical dagger to her hand. One guard knocks an arrow, aiming for Tristan, but instinctively Evie dives in its way, the magic in the dagger and her scar shielding her and splitting the arrow in two before it hits her. The last 2 guards run off as Tristan checks on Evie, but she's fine and tells him to deal with the remaining intruders. He reaches out with his death magic and does as his lady bids. On their way back into the fortress residence, they hear a woman screaming. It sounds like Nura Sage.
It's not, though.
Oh, okay.
It's not her. Rena Fortis has been cultivating hybrid plants that siphon magic and store memories. She's been working for King BeneDick and helping him fulfill the Renadon story prophecy the entire time.
God damn it.
Rena confesses that Nura came to them for aid. Her magic was too much, and Rena tried to siphon it to give Nura relief, but her magic had been abused too much already. One moment, she was screaming for mercy. The next, only stardust was left of her. And she died. I wish people would quit trying to help her, in quotes, by stealing her magic.
Yeah. It's not
a thing, I don't think.
It's not great.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the manor, they are under siege. The malevolent guards are fighting the vast numbers of valiant guards, and Gideon has to make a decision as to which side he is on. He looks at the head of the malevolent guard, Keeney, who is running to protect the Geevers. He's going to appreciate Keeney more and more, and makes his decision. He's gonna get corrupted. Ooh, yeah.
Rena begs Becky to understand that she did what she thought was best to keep her family together and had plans to tell Evie that her mother was traveling and needed more time to arrive, giving her time to soften the blow of her death.
Bullshit.
Not a thing. Stop it. Rena doesn't see how villainous her actions really are. Just very ironic. Rena gives Evie a black slab Nura left for her before everyone leaves. But just then, Raphael comes in and tells them a battalion of Valiant Guards is on their way. Back home at Massacre Manor, they find it in chaos. The Valiant Guard have gassed the male Givra to sedate him and are loading the female into a cart. Tristan fights the remaining guards, but his magic is weak and not responding to him. He watches the female being taken away as a giant catapult is ready to take down the male. Gideon stops it from making the killing blow, but is knocked down by a guard. Before he himself is killed by his former colleague, mocking him that no villain can help the traitor, Evie's dagger slams into the Valiant Guard's back.
Once the Valiant Guard is subdued, Edwin comes running to Evie. Lissa has been locked in her father's cell, and her father has escaped. Back in their rooms, Lissa confesses to having visited their father every day at midday when the guard changed shifts. Someone slipped a note under their door, and she stole the key from Becky's desk. It isn't until the middle of the night Evie realises what Lissa said. Who gave her the note? Evie heads straight to the villain, who couldn't sleep, so decided to do some Valiant Guard torturing. Evie tells Tristan what happened. While they're confessing, Tristan finally tells Evie that Kingsley is actually a human prince turned into a frog by a sorceress. Kingsley, or Alexander, wasn't the intended victim. His mother gave the order, and it was meant to kill. Didn't we already know that Kingsley was?
We already knew that. Evie already knew it too, and she's like, yeah, duh.
I mean, yeah.
You keep calling him by a human name.
He
Clearly.
on a little bed next to your bed.
Yeah, and he can hold up signs that he writes.
He completely understands language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Later, Lissa is having a tea party with Tristan. Evie joins, and her heart keeps doing flip-flops because it's so adorable, and Tristan is wearing a huge floppy hat, and even Kingsley has an adorable dress on. Perfect. Realizing they're out of sugar, Lissa pulls a vial of stardust from Fortress Evie gave her to use instead, and drops it on the slab, also gifted to her that she is using as a plate. At Evie's startled cry that her baby sister is essentially playing with their mother's ashes, Lissa drops the vial and it smashes on the plate. A large, bright explosion occurs, and the image left on the plate is familiar. Evie picks it up, Tristan following, and they ask Blade to ready Fluffy.
Soon they are back at the cave with the giant, but it looks different. The magic is leaving from the land. Evie and Tristan go down into the cave, and Evie hands the slab, which now has a bright star in its centre, to the giant. The slab is the missing piece of his night sky. The giant puts it back, and there is a magic spark as it fixes in place. The wishing star is back. The giant offers Evie anything, and she asks for her mother. With an explosion of multicoloured brilliance, Nura Sage appears. They don't have long to talk as the magic in the cave starts to disappear, and the cave begins to crumble. The giant helps them escape on a cloud, refusing to leave himself.
Gideon and Nura's reunion is warm, but Lissa, who never really knew their mother, is understandably wary. As Nura is being checked by Tatiana, she mentions that there are 4 parts to the prophecy needed to fulfill Renadon's story, but Tristan's power, the star, and the female Givra are only 3. Unfortunately, Nura can't remember what the 4th is yet. When they have a moment alone, Gideon gives Evie the antidote to the sleeping death plant he failed to give her at the very beginning. She didn't need it. It seems the other known antidote seemed to have worked just fine. Memories of Tristan begging her to live and kissing her hand when he found her lying dead flash through her mind. Is it true love? Is it true love? Is that what it is?
Oh, look, true love's goddamn kiss, is it?
It's mutual corruption.
Mutual corruption saves the day.
Later, when Gideon is looking at the page he tore from Renadon's story, he realizes the villain wasn't the only person unmasked the night of the ball and sees the text. Beware the unmasked villain and their malevolent dark, for nothing is more dangerous than a blackened good heart. End. End of book 2.
Please turn over for book 3.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
No. Let's have a break.
Let's do. And then let's come right back.
Okay.
Hi, this is Leah Stuhler, creator and host of YA Book Chat podcast. If you love reading young adult books and chatting about them with your friends, then head on over to my podcast and take a listen. Each episode, my guests and I chat about a different YA book. We start spoiler-free and then head into our spoiler section where we dive into the mysteries of each book. And we do it with laughs and fun along the way. You can listen to YA Book Chat on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcast. And now, back to the show.
I need to be really truthful. This story is like super cute,
Yes.
but the slow burn is really bothering me, and I don't really think it's cute anymore. I'm kind of just getting annoyed by it.
I agree. I don't mind a slow burn, but this is lukewarm.
Yeah. Like, I love it. I love all the shenanigans.
Yes.
And meeting new characters who are also related to all the other characters. And I really like all the very silly things that happen, but this like romance is really bogging me down, and I didn't love this one as much as the first one.
No, the first one really set a good scene. I think this one, it suffers from the sequel's problem.
Yeah, there's either sometimes I will really, really love a book 2. It's the best one for me, and sometimes it is and
this one doesn't live
wah,
up to
wah.
the expectations. I feel like I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. But I
Same.
agree.
I did. I really did.
I enjoyed the shenanigans, but it's like just corrupt each other already.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just get on with it, because it's gone past the point of will they, won't they. It's the will. We know the will.
Yeah, but just
Get on with it. Just do it. Stop waiting until. Stop coming up with excuses.
Yeah. I had a thought while we were recording, and I almost burst in and said it, but you know how we were like, why did you go to see the frame maker? And then we thought, well, maybe it's because the face painter is important and we'll come back later. And what if she's the one who draws the wanted posters?
That would be amazing.
Because after they had that cutie little time with her and she like winks and pulls down the poster, like, did she pull it down so she could redraw him and make him look a little more handsome? And she's like trying to help him out somehow.
It's cute. I mean, it's a cute theory, but I don't think it is. Because at the first one, they laugh about how bad the wanted posters are because nobody knows what he looks like. And I actually think she pulled it down just because she appreciates the villain and what he's doing, and the fact that she knows it's Evie's old neighbour.
Yeah.
Who also will know that Malcolm's living in the cottage.
Look, I'm just trying to make that scene
safety.
make sense.
It was pointless.
I'm trying to make it not. Okay?
I don't think you can unless something in book 3 comes back with Ada, I think her name was, and the face painting aspect comes back. It's going to remain a pointless scene.
That's just
I enjoyed the face painting bit.
I did, but
I
then
enjoyed the bit where he goes past the X and he twinges the knee.
Yeah.
But that's it. Other than that, they should have just gone straight to the cottage.
They should have. They should have.
Which is probably the worst bit for me. But also, I got really frustrated. The fact that they go to the right place, they go to the cave with the giant and the midnight sky.
Mm-hmm.
And then have all of these shenanigans, do all these side quests, to go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. I found that a little frustrating.
Yeah.
I also thought, I'm going to sound so negative, but I really did enjoy the book.
Same.
When they're going into Heart Village, and there's the three creatures in the middle, I'm like, is this just shoehorning in the Billy Goat's gruff?
Probably.
Is this... Because this is a really bad way to, like, have a village where you've got three creatures who were gatekeeping it.
Yeah.
I just want to go and visit family, and I'm not very good at riddles.
Yeah, like, come on. Just let me go. I'm just going right there.
I'm an Amazon delivery driver. I'm here every day.
Can I answer this goddamn riddle every time?
I'm just doing my job. I just need to deliver some packages. I just... Oh. I don't know if I'd want to live at Heart Village based on, like, the gatekeeping aspect.
No. Especially now that the magic is leaving. Because, like, you're going to have to depend on the Amazon delivery drivers if you don't have your magic.
Well, exactly.
And they are probably not smart enough to get past the riddles. Because they're just busy.
They're too busy to think about riddles.
They don't have time for that.
No. Appreciate your Amazon delivery driver, though.
Yeah, but they're just like, ugh. I don't have time for this.
No, I don't think any postal worker does.
No.
It's targets to meet. It's a tough job, especially if you have to walk. Like Posty does.
Yeah.
But also, can you not park in front of your driveway and I'm trying to park onto your driveway?
Yeah, don't do that. That's annoying.
That's very annoying. Especially when you're not delivering a parcel to me.
Yeah.
Anyway. I did like the book, but
I did. I liked it too.
Bits of the storyline that just need tightening up.
I feel like I like it, but I don't care.
Oh.
Like, I'm not like, oh, I got to get book 3 immediately, even though I have pre-ordered it because I have to get book 3 immediately. But, like,
I am looking forward to reading book 3. I do want to. I just hope it's... I can't remember if it is a trilogy or if it's gone longer.
I hope it's the end.
I hope it's a trilogy. I don't mind if there's more books in the universe with the same characters, but it's a different story arc.
Yeah.
Or it focuses on Becky and Blade. Or it focuses on Clown Tatiana. Or Titiana. Or,
Tit.
Or the next storyline is Kingsley's, rehumaning arc. Or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't mind. But the villain, Tristan, and Evie have to be mutually corrupting each other.
Yes. And
all the Massacre Manor every night. Has to happen.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out of the way. Because it's slow burns at a simmer.
I would really appreciate them getting together and, ruling together in their villainness. Because, they're actually not the villains of the story. Shocking everyone.
Do you need to lie down now after that revelation?
I do. But I just want them to live evilly ever after and just be done. It's almost like The Selection, which I really felt like we were summarizing the selection books again because we kept going, meanwhile, back in her room.
It says that in the book, which I actually appreciate.
I know, I really appreciate
I really appreciate the fact, just like, you know what, let's not try and come up with a different phrase, let's just stick with it.
No,
meanwhile. Back in the manor.
But I like that had a nice, good trilogy.
Yes.
And then the next books that came out were several years later. So I'd be fine with that in this instance.
Oh, 100%. I would be very much fine with that as well. I actually think that this could possibly, without having read book 3 yet, it could have been a nice duology, but, you know, I think it's because I like a duology as well.
I like a duology as well.
Yeah.
Let's not stretch it out, though.
No, let's stick to 3 and let's get them all corrupting each other and
yes,
being lovely and all that kind of stuff. But yes, I mean we all know, and it's obvious as well when you talk to cousin Helena, who just magically turns up, and all these people, that King BeneDick is the actual villain. We know this. We've known this from book 1.
Yeah.
So let's not pussyfoot about and let's get on with it.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I hope
Same. I liked it.
The face paint lady comes back, but in a more meaningful capacity.
Yeah.
You know,
but please don't let her be another secret family member.
God no. That was.
I'm your great aunt.
Do you know, it was Gideon? I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I feel fine with Gideon.
Sure.
The explanation as to why, because he always wanted to be a knight, because of the powers he had and the work he did, King BeneDick took him under, gave him the knight, set him on knight track, and, you know, he did have amnesia for a short period of time for one reason or another. I can't really remember. It wasn't that important to the
because
story.
His mother's magic exploded and everyone thought that he died.
That's right. You know, that makes sense. That's I'm fine with that. Cousin Helena? No.
Okay.
That was weak sauce. I'm not. Do I appreciate that Becky is the Fortis? Did that make sense?
I don't think I mind that one as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It really needs to have been done for a reason, though, because, like I said, I unfortunately, I don't care. I'm gonna read it because it's cute and it's fun and it's good.
And we love Kingsley.
And we love Kingsley, and I mean, I love Tristan. They're my favorite characters. But I don't care anymore. But I will continue to read because it is good. Stop being so negative, Amanda.
It's difficult, I think, because we enjoyed the first one so much.
Yeah.
I think our expectations of this one were a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because the first one is so good.
Yes.
So, because our expectations are so high, we're more critical.
Yeah.
I would say it's a really good, like, Sunday afternoon or, like, weekend read where you just want to escape for a few hours, have some nice snacks, have a nice drink, curl up with your kitties.
Yeah.
Or puppies or, you know, whatever, and just kind of, like, zone out and have a laugh, root for the quote-unquote bad guy.
Yeah. And
not have anything too mentally demanding.
Yeah, I almost... Oh, and I hate that I'm going to say this. I almost wish that we hadn't covered this one and had just, like, here's the start to the series and it's really, really great. You go on and finish it on your own. I know. Like, let me just read this one in my own time.
That feels really cutting. Do you not want a magical dagger, though?
I would love to have a magical dagger. I would love to have any magical powers from this book because it's good. Stop it. It's good.
I think we had a lack of Tatiana in shenanigans. And
Yeah.
I remember
I can agree with that.
Tatiana was a favourite character from the first one.
Yes.
And just loved her.
Yeah.
So I think if there was a bit more Tatiana, you probably would have liked the book
Maybe.
a bit more, or feel a bit more invested in the book.
Yeah.
I say invested, not liked, because I think you did like it, but
I
like,
did like it.
yeah, but I think you're not invested in the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe the way I feel about this book without it just sounding like I'm a horrible, horrible bitch. Which, I mean, I am, but like...
You are, but you're not. But because I think that I get what you're saying. It's the slow burn. The slow burn between Tristan and Evie, it's getting a bit much. Just freaking just do it already.
Yeah.
Just admit your feelings towards each other.
Yeah.
Corrupt the dickens out of each other. And then go and kill King BeneDick.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish
Fine.
that would happen. Yeah.
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 And, you know, solve Renadon's magical issue. That's the other thing. It doesn't feel like, for me, they keep saying that magic's leaving the land. And we got the whole thing with the giant, the magic's leaving. And cousin Helena said that the magic's leaving. But I think, apart from Tristan's magic not responding to him as it used to,
Yeah.
and it essentially turning into Evie's pet, I don't feel like I've got that sense of urgency that they need to solve the problem.
And like, is Evie gonna have a magic? Is she already and we just don't realize what it is yet?
I think it's charisma.
You think it's charisma?
I think
feel
her
like...
sunshine disposition and the easy way in which she talks to people and can win people over, I think that essentially is her magic.
I can see that. I'm just sort of like, I was thinking like maybe she's some sort of shield or distraction, sort of like her. That's her power.
Potentially, but then again, I don't think everybody does have a power. Becky doesn't. She's just really good at alphabetizing and organising.
I thought she had some issues.
Oh no,
with
she
the
does.
plants.
She does. She has the Fortis family.
Yeah.
She's the Fortis family heir, but it's not evident at Massacre Manor. It's not an everyday power.
Well, because she's trying to keep her identity concealed. So.
Blade, does he have one?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Should we move on to surprises?
Yeah.
I don't really know that I have a surprise, but I just can't stop wondering who helped Jerk Dad escape.
I thought it was when Lissa went to go and see him. He basically got the key off Lissa. And then went, whoop, haha, sucks to be you, kid, and ran off.
Yeah, could be. But like, who slipped the note? Who's working behind the scenes?
Point. I hope it's not Keely, the head of the Malevolent Guard.
It just doesn't feel like something she would do. I don't know.
Yeah, might be somebody we haven't been introduced to yet.
Yeah, it's probably someone's second cousin. Twice removed, whatever that means.
It's a family affair.
It is.
I don't think I had a surprise either, because like I said earlier, it's a very predictable book, which is why it makes a good, like, you know, Sunday afternoon type escape.
Yeah.
For a couple of hours. The fact that King BeneDick is not subtle in his villainous ways, but everybody considers the villain the bad guy and not Kim. I don't know. I'm like, it might be. Do you know what? My surprise is probably the disjointed nature of the story.
In the nicest way possible.
Oh,
Because
God,
it's good. Stop it.
It's ridiculous. I listened to the book on audio in a day when it first came out. I've reread it. I've listened to it again and I've read it. I like the book. I really enjoy the book. I enjoy the sassy banter. I enjoy the tomfoolery. I enjoy the villain getting frustrated and wound up the fact that all he wants to do is fuck Evie. It's not even mild corruption. It is full on. He wants to have sex with his assistant.
Yeah.
He is in love with his assistant, and he's just denying it. And I enjoy that frustration. I enjoy the fact that Evie knows that Tristan likes her. And she winds him up about it. She's too perky at times. But that's my personal preference against people who are too perky. I don't trust them. I enjoy the fact that Becky loves alphabetizing. I'm like, yes, queen, organise shit.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Evie and Becky and Tatiana and Claire, they're very strong, they're independent women, they take charge of shit, and they get it done. I love the fact that Evie killed Otto at the end of book 1 and stuck his head as a decoration in the foyer. That's a decoration I can get behind.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the coffee is called Cauldron Brew. I love the fact that Edwin the Ogre is a cook and he makes lemon tarts and cinnamon rolls and biscuits and pies and is magical in the kitchen. I don't mind Lissa as a kid. She seems like she's got her head screwed on a little bit. She's not an annoying little brat. But I just think that the story needs a little bit of a tightening, and we need to have less family members popping up. Overall. Okay.
All right.
I'm not being negative, Nilly. I think I gave like 4.5 stars or something.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway.
Favorite final thought quote?
I'm going to give you 4.
Okay.
Harking back to being perky. No one should be this cheery. It was unnatural. That's unicorn shit. Instead of bullshit, that's unicorn shit. I like it, appreciate it. It has a magical twist. The first rule of villainy: never leave evidence behind. It's a good rule. And this one, because I find it very relatable, and I think it's something that we've probably both done. Evie Sage's greatest affliction in life was spite.
Yes.
And I feel that in my soul.
Yeah.
I tell me to do something, I'll do it out of spite.
Yeah, I am powered by spite.
Yes. Maybe a little bit of pain as well.
Yeah.
Cool. What have you got?
I only have a couple. It seemed the darkest tales held the harshest truths. Yeah. And she was afraid, but she knew now. Fear usually meant you were standing on the edge of something new, something life-altering, something potentially good. Fear was not something she would shy away from ever again. Nice. And I appreciate that.
Nice.
I did also like, because we are always expected to plaster a grin on our faces even when we don't wish to. I used to do it so often, I stopped being able to tell when I was smiling for me or for someone else. So now, I don't smile unless I'm 100% sure it's something I want to do, not something someone else wants me to do. And I appreciate that.
I really like that one as well. I very much like that one. Well done, Becky.
Yeah, very good. Very good. But that's it. That's what I got.
Yeah, there's probably a few others, but yeah, let's not plagiarise.
Yeah. Pew 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 pew. Pew pew pew.
We asked on social media, would you rather be imprisoned in complete darkness or imprisoned under the water? Where a window is leaking. And on Facebook, 80% said darkness. On Instagram, it was 100%. Emily on Facebook said, I'd go for darkness because I don't want to imagine myself drowning while being imprisoned under the water.
Coral on Facebook said, okay, it all depends on how long this imprisonment lasts because the sound of being underwater with a leak doesn't sound like it's going to end well, so let's sit in the dark for as long as I need. Nap time is what I choose.
That's my answer. Constance on Facebook says, I'll be here in the pitch black room snuggling with my kitties.
Mm-hmm. Candace on Facebook says, darkness. If it wasn't leaking, I'd go underwater.
Colin on Facebook says, hello darkness, my old friend. As many of you have mentioned, being in a leaking underwater room does not sound like a viable survival strategy, not to mention the slow drip, drip, drip sound that would send me over the edge. Nope, I'll take the sweet embrace of the void, thank you very much. There I can nap as much as I want and also dance about a little bit of a tit, nobody can see me. Trousers, don't need them, can't see my bits because it's all dark. Plus, my eyes don't work very well anyway, so it's the dark vision while only being about 40% worse than normal, whereas my jailer will lose 100% of their vision, meaning I'm 60% better off than them. Now, let's not forget that I'm 200% better than most about everyone, so that gives me a 260% advantage in the dark over everyone else.
That's how math works.
It's a good bit of math.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Claire on Facebook says, okay, so darkness sounds terrifying, but the sensory nightmare of a slowly filling room of being dry but with wet feet or a wet bum if I sit down? Absolutely not.
It's the wet bum for me. Katrina on Facebook said, both of these sound terrifying. I think I will have to be imprisoned in the darkness. At least that one sounds survivable.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your answer?
Darkness. I'm all about the naps.
Yeah.
Simple as.
I don't know. Yeah.
Especially right now, I'm all about the naps.
Yeah, same.
Imagine getting crinkly fingers and toes off all the what now.
Yeah,
naps.
I know. It's just not.
And it's not, and because we are lords and masters of all that we survey, it's going to be really comfortable in there as well with soft pillows and
it's going to
nice
smell
mattress.
nice.
It's going to smell nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice cozy temperature.
We'll be able to find the toilets in the dark and be able to use them properly because we're girls and we sit down for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, darkness. Just choose darkness. Always choose darkness.
Matches my soul.
Would you rather your thought long dead brother is in fact alive and has been working for the enemy, but now he's not, and now he's a good guy, or discover that the kind of bitchy but you like her anyway HR manager is actually an heiress from a faraway kingdom and her family hid your mother's death from you?
Oh, okay.
Can you get through all those hyphenated words to to be able to answer the question?
I'm going to go with Becky.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's a simpler answer.
Yeah.
Because Becky is not the person who hid my mother's whereabouts / death.
Yeah.
She obviously has issues with her family.
Yeah. It's not her fault.
It's not her fault. She's blameless in that situation, which is kind of bitchy, which I like.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can mess back with her by de-alphabetizing her organizational system.
Yeah. Or just pull one book on the shelf out just a little bit.
Yeah. Or, turn one paperclip around the other way. It's easy to get my own back on her if necessary, but I don't blame her. But we're already kind of friends anyway. Yeah. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I think I choose that as well. It feels more beneficial for the storyline. And I don't need more surprise family members popping up.
Yeah. Oh, the dad's going to pop up again. Surprise, your father's back. Ugh,
yeah. I mean, that one I'm okay with because he's been a part of the story the whole time. But when great Uncle Buford shows up,
Oh, fuck great Uncle Buford.
Yeah. I don't care.
Would you rather your crush find your secret kissy doodles in a notepad, or find your crush having a fancy tea party with your little sister?
Obviously fancy tea party is what we choose for this one because that was precious. And everybody's wearing fancy outfits. Like, yeah. Yeah. I was a little weirded out that we're playing with Mama's ashes. Or
That was hilarious
her
at the same
Stardust,
time,
but like,
though.
stop it. No, do not sprinkle that into your tea, please.
I mean, thankfully it wasn't real tea. It was imaginary
That's
tea.
true. That's true.
But
Yeah.
don't play with your mother's ashes like that.
No, that's weird. That's weird. But like Kingsley in a little fancy dress and Tristan wearing a floppy hat. Yeah, here for it.
Same.
Here for it.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
Man, we're just zipping right through.
Cool.
Would you rather have the power to pinpoint weaknesses or to negate others' powers?
Oh, I could use both for so much evil.
Yeah?
Because if I can pinpoint weaknesses, I can poke those weaknesses.
Yeah?
But if they don't have any powers, they are also weak.
Yeah?
Damn. I'm going to go with negate others' powers because no, I'm going to go with pinpoint weaknesses because then I really that was one of the best things about that entire pointless scene was when he was like, your knee hurts, boom.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
It was funny. I'm going to make people drop like a sack of shit.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with that as well because like I feel like Gideon was just kind of abused.
Oh,
and
completely.
he's forced to use his power in ways that he didn't want to.
I mean, he was 10 at the time as well.
Yeah, and like he's the one who took Tristan's power away all the time, and like that's not I don't like it. I don't like it. So I'm gonna pinpoint weaknesses, and also kill people with that power because that's also what his power does.
Do you know what your weakness is? You need oxygen. Crush your airway.
Yeah. Do you know what your weakness is? Death. Bing.
Do you know what your weakness is? Crippling anxiety? Yes, I'm not touching you. I feel sorry for you already.
No, stop. Nope.
No. You have to live with that?
Ooh.
Okay. Would you rather smell a flower that makes you drunk or eat a fruit that makes you appear dead?
Like, do I get to enjoy the nap that comes?
Well, she
the fruit?
She didn't seem to wake up refreshed, but Lord and Master, you've also got to have the antidote. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Just in case we don't have the antidote, I think I'm gonna sniff a flower.
I am going to do that, but under very strict condition of a fictional hangover sleepover, and we're all sniffing the flower.
That would be amazing, and I recommend that happen.
There we go.
Good. Man, that would be so much fun. All right, if you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest?
So this is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, which is very good. I have read it.
Cute.
It's not Arthurian at all. It is an homage to D&D. The summary is from F.T. Lukens' website. Arik hadn't thought much about what would happen after he completed the prophecy that said he was destined to save the Kingdom of Air from its evil ruler. So now that he's finally managed to, somewhat clumsily, behead the evil king, turns out magical swords yanked from bogs don't come pre-sharpened, he and his ragtag group of quest companions are at a bit of a loss for what to do next. As a temporary safeguard, Arik's best friend and mate, Matt, convinces him to assume the throne until the true heir can be rescued from her tower, except that she's dead. Now, Arik is stuck as king, a role that comes with a magical catch. Choose a spouse by your 18th birthday or wither away to nothing!
Oh,
Yay!
wee.
With his 18th birthday only 3 months away and only Matt is in on the secret, Arik embarks on a desperate bid to find a spouse to save his life, starting with his quest companions, but his attempts at wooing his friends go painfully and hilariously wrong. It's very slapstick, until he discovers that love might have been in front of him all along, and it's not even a tenuous link, it's full on slapping you in the face.
Amazing.
So I highly recommend it. It is another Sunday afternoon for good and relaxing, and they're all delightful.
Excellent.
What have you got?
I am going to suggest one that's not out yet. Oops. It's not a new and indie spotlight because, oops, that's book 3. I am going to suggest The Robin on the Oak Throne by K.A. Lind. It comes out June 17th, and this is book 2 of the Oak and Holly series. And book 1 was The Wren and the Holly Library, which we have suggested in previous new and indie spotlight sections. And we get these books in the mail, and they're very, very pretty, and they have really pretty edges. So this is book 2. Can you trust the dark when you know that it lies? Oh, that is an exact link. Darkness. Kierce McKenna just shattered the monster treaty again. It wasn't entirely her fault. The job was supposed to be simple. Steal a goblin-made bracelet off the queen of the nymphs in her own palace. Trade the bracelet for a way to uncover the truth about her past. Except everything goes sideways. And then he shows up to save her. Graves, the warlock who ensnared her, betrayed her, and left her to fend for herself. He's a villain. Hashtag tenuously. A monster draped in charm and shadows, and God's help her, he always knows exactly what she wants. But Graves never does anything for free. He has a job for his favorite little thief, one that will pit her against the most powerful monsters in existence, including his mortal enemy, the Oak King. An ancient artifact has been located, and only together can they hope to steal it. She just has to let him in. Mutual corruption. But once she lets a monster in, he's impossible to forget, and even harder to resist. I feel like this is probably more my speed than the slow burn.
Yeah. Just get with the fucking...
Just get with the fucking... Yeah. I thought you were going to say, like, get with the fucking program, but you didn't. You just said get with the fucking, and that's also great.
Just get with the fucking program.
Yeah. All right. Spoiler alert that I mentioned earlier, new and indie spotlight is Accomplice to the Villain this time by Hannah Nicole Maehrer. Comes out in August. We hope everyone has already pre-ordered. Here's the summary. Reward offered. Apprentice to the villain wanted for treason, light. Magical property damage, alleged. And one incident involving a weaponized scone, accurate. Frequently seen with a grumpy frog, crowned, judgmental, answers to Evie, or stop that. Evie Sage didn't mean to become the right-hand woman to the kingdom's most terrifying villain. 1 minute, she was applying for an entry-level position that promised light paperwork and occasional beheadings. And the next, she was knee-deep in magical mayhem, murder plots, and an entirely inappropriate crush on her brooding, sharp-jawed, walking disaster of a boss. Now, with the magical prophecy unraveling, assassins showing up in the break room, and a suspicious amount of frogs wearing crowns, Evie has to figure out how to survive her job without setting the kingdom on fire, or her dignity, which is hanging by a very sarcastic thread. Being evil adjacent was never part of the 5-year plan, but then again, neither was falling for the villain. All right. That's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Flat.
Join us next time as we discuss Last Chance to Save the World by Beth Revis in our 350th episode.
What?
What?
Ah!
Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com and follow us on all social media at Fictional Hangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for listening.